All right. They can hear us. Let's turn this darn music down. And let's say hello, Internet.
Hola.
We've returned.
Internet.
Oh, I'm still wearing my sunglasses.
You were going to do it all night?
I was going to do that all
Perfect.
night. I've already failed. I took them off. This is the way.
It is the way.
Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Adam. How's it going?
Good. We're back.
We are. Back after a long freaking time.
Hiatus. We had to take a creative break.
It was just sucking too many creative juices from us all at once. So, yeah.
For the inside joke there, I guess, we skipped last episode, and we only do these every other week. So it was a month break. But we're back. It's been a month. We're here to talk about nerdy, geeky, maybe irrelevant stuff. I don't know.
I assume everything is irrelevant because I'm irrelevant.
That's probably
Wait, irreverent? I might be meaning irreverent. Maybe I'm getting this backwards.
Are you a nihilist? Everything just ends, so it doesn't matter?
I don't know. Therefore, it doesn't.
I don't know if I'm a nihilist. All right. Let's see here. So, what do we normally talk about stuff? All right. Did I do everything? We're unmuted. Okay. We're good. We're live. We are here. Is there anything you want to start with? Because my list is hell's along, and I don't know if you just want me to start rapid firing through some of this stuff.
Oh, I can rapid fire. I can long fire. I can slow fire. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know that I've only seen 3 movies since we last talked, which is a sad thing.
Okay.
I know that I have caught up on a little bit of TV, which is a good thing. And I know that there are many, many board games that I don't know enough about that I want to talk about.
I'm okay with all that. All right. So what is this thing called? There was a movie I watched today called Motherfuckers or Mutafuckers. So I may want to talk about. I'm going to add that to the list. So here's how I have tonight broke down, and we can throw those in because it kind of follows the same format we've kind of been doing.
Kind of, sort
of. Which is kind of like general. Well, I guess we've been doing TV shows first. Maybe I'll do those first.
Have we formed a pattern without meaning to?
Not like an official one. The only thing is I'm trying my hardest to keep these a little bit in order. If we're gonna keep the format, we can talk about whatever we want. Obviously, if chat jumps in, we can chat with whatever they want. But I'm kind of, if we're gonna keep talking about TV shows, movies, comic books, board games, and that kind of topic, I'm trying to keep them in a little bit in order, and I'm trying to keep them grouped together because when we put them on YouTube, I'm trying to put the time marks about when we talk about certain subjects because these are 2 hours long. I completely recognize that people don't generally have 2 hours to watch an entire podcast unless for some reason it's Joe Rogan. Then you can sit there for 72 hours a day listening to that guy, I guess, given his numbers. But
I think this might have something to do with his entertainment level versus our own.
I don't know what you're talking about. We're just as entertaining as a Joe Rogan.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we should be. That's for
sure. So that's all I've been trying to like kind of keep things kind of grouped so I can find them easier for myself when I'm time marking things. So, but we can skip around. I don't care. So what happened? So I have a bunch of stuff on news, but it was all kind of relevant to the last time.
Was it because of Kobe?
Nope. I was not going to mention Kobe. Rip. This was back when Ricky Gervais was doing the Golden Globes. We were going to do a podcast basically right after Ricky Gervais did his 5th Golden Globe run and was just as mean and awesome as ever. It was fantastic.
It was the best Hollywood reaction shot getting event that I've ever seen.
Oh my God. Tim Cook was a great one when he slams them for building people like their phones in third world countries. And is it Tom Hanks or one of those guys?
Tom Hanks was the one that there's like a good photo of
the memes.
Him just sitting there like,
So I definitely wanted to yak about that a little bit. and how he was complete legend. I went through and listened to like his night recap for the whole night, and he's been pretty rough the last 4. And every time he comes out and he's like, "This is the only time I'm going to get to do this, so I don't care. You're all getting roasted." And then he slams them. I really liked the Epstein burn too. I thought that was just gorgeous. Like, hold on, I know he's your friend. Just calm down. I don't care. Because Epstein did not kill himself, and it was just hilarious to watch them all squirm when he's talking about that, like really not funny stuff, but like just a brilliant way that I believe comedians exist to do that. Right, the jester of the court, the comedians of the world are there to say the uncomfortable things so that we can actually talk about them and get them out, because sunlight is the best disinfectant. So to have him just kind of attack the ultra rich Hollywood elite with some of the stuff was really fun for me. So
it was fun for a lot of people, I think. Maybe not the ultra elite, but you know.
I hope it wasn't fun for them. I don't give a shit about them. Let's see. I probably had more to say about that, but since it's been nearly a month, I probably forgot.
All gone now.
Let's see, that one's not relevant anymore. Here's some nerdy news. We got Christian Bale is cast in the new Thor movie. Have you seen anything about that?
I have not. I mean, I've heard things as far as they're doing like the female Thor thing, but also it not apparently being a full-on female Thor thing, and a whole bunch of random things and people. But I haven't really heard anything detail-wise on any.
I actually own that run where Thor becomes a female. Jane what's her face? Austen? No. Jane Austen's the boyfriend.
She's an author.
But Jane is the name of the girl, right? Or whatever. So she becomes Thor. Natalie Portman's character, yes, becomes Thor for a while in the comic books. And it's
not in the sense of, yes. In the sense of like holding the hammer and like having whoever is worthy holding the power of Thor. In the way that Captain America did, kind of.
Right.
But
except for she's like, in the comic book, turns into like a female Thor. Like she's got the helmet and the hair and like, she's beefy.
Which, for those of you who are not familiar with olden days of comic book lore, the original Thor comics basically featured a normal human who, in the end, ended up being Thor himself, but like he did not have access to the godlikeness of Thor until he grabbed the hammer, and then he transformed, basically hulked out, like you said.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing in the comics with her, where she's like, I guess she's dying. I haven't read it, but from what I've understand, she's like dying of cancer or something, and she now has this like back and forth where when she has the hammer, like she's basically a god or goddess. But when she reverts to her human form, she's like, her body is failing and she's dealing with mortality. And I've heard it's very, very well written and very, very good story. So
yeah, out of the weird stint of Marvel needed more female characters, so we'll just turn all of our dudes into females. I believe that was one of the better accepted versions of that.
Well, Jason Aaron is a solid writer, and I believe that's who did that. Jason somebody. I think it was Aaron. It was the guy who does the Star Wars, or did the Star Wars book, and did a bunch. He did a lot of. I'll say I gotta look it up because it's gonna drive me nuts.
Yeah, so she's gonna be somewhat Thor, and Thor's gonna be Thor, and I don't know. Christian Bale is reportedly cast. Well, he is cast. They don't know for what. They're assuming some sort of villain. There was a short list of guest villains or villains that they had guessed were going to be his casting, but I forgot what they were because that was 3 weeks ago that I was going to say that. But that'll be interesting because it's been interesting how, at one point it seems like they were shy, or at least maybe they should be shy about cross casting somebody who's such a big comic book person. I mean, obviously as Batman, arguably fantastic, if not best Batman on screen, real life. So Michael Keaton's always my Batman.
Agreed.
He's now going to play like a major part here, but you have Jay Leto who or Jared Leto who did Mysterio after he did like a Joker stunt. And then probably I actually talked about this at work and a lot of people had forgotten.
Leto?
Yeah, Jared Leto.
Is that not? That's not Gyllenhaal who did Mysterio.
Oh, you're right. It is Jake
That's
Gyllenhaal. What was
Jake
I thinking? Was he cast for? Oh no, he's
Jared
cast for
was
Morbius.
the Joker.
Yeah, he's cast for Morbius.
He's Morbius.
I know he was another show. Sorry, I just got confused.
He was also the Joker in Suicide Squad. Perhaps the worst of the Jokers.
Yes. Which I have Morbius coming up here too. I wanted to talk about. But having him, and then a lot of people forget Captain America was the Human Torch, right?
That's because those movies don't exist.
No, they do. Come on, they weren't that bad.
They weren't that bad. They were better
especially
than the
for
trash
being
that
like
came
before,
out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, like that was like hokey, but it was pre like good comic book movies. This was pre.
Those ones did fit very well with that like early 2000s era movie.
If you compare them to like the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, they're not that far off.
Or
they're not as good.
X-Men movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. The X-Men movies, which were worse if you count 3. I mean, 1 and 2. 2 is obviously god tier, but 3 is we already kind of went over 3. But
I will give this to the early 2000s comic book movies. You have X-Men, which was cheesy, but it was okay. And then you had Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man, which was really good New York and managed to balance. And I say that as somebody who's like spent 0 point of my life in New York, essentially. But like from what Hollywood in New York television tells me, it felt like really good New York with just enough cheese and just enough heart and just enough semi-seriousness to like
Sam Raimi
to make it work. But then both of those movies just did really good jobs of setting up sequels that were like, we don't have to do origin stories. We can just do like a real comic book story. That's great.
And then both their third movies shat the bed.
Yes, exactly. Which was horrible. But they're set like those twos, the Spider-Man 2 and the X-Men 2 were and still are 2 of my all-time favorite comic book movies. Although as time goes on, especially now that we have had like 10 years of really high-end, perfectly curated Marvel movies,
for the most part,
it makes those 2 movies not hold up quite as well. But for the era, they were amazing.
They hold a special place in my heart.
Yes. And to your point, those Fantastic Four movies, especially the first one, did a really good job of fitting in that era where it was like cheesy, relatively heartfelt, relatively cheesy, a little bit of seriousness, but not too much. And it did a good job of that.
Yeah.
But the second one was horrible compared to the first one.
But getting back to cross casting, I just think it's interesting that would you consider Christian Bale the biggest, most iconic version of this? I mean, maybe Captain America nowadays, if he played something. When he was Human Torch, though, nobody really cared. So when he came over to Captain America, it wasn't that big of a deal. But Christian Bale is like a massive Batman. So to see him in the movie as anything other than that seems like it might be a little jarring.
Well, the only one that I would probably compare in bigness would be Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern and then Deadpool. Or Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool and then Green Lantern and then
Deadpool. So talk about movies that don't exist. Green Lantern is still to this day the only like comic book movie I've never seen, and I have seen the 1994 like German made Fantastic Four movie. So I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen parts of it. I've never sat down and watched it, but I've seen parts.
Like I've seen that, and I have not watched the Green Lantern movie by Ryan Reynolds. And not for any anti-love against him. I love Ryan Reynolds, but the trailers looked so bad that I was like, no, I'm out.
This is what I will say about that movie. It's not. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this.
Ryan's a big Green Lantern fan, so you might have to stretch here.
I am a big Green Lantern fan, and it was the superhero movie I was looking forward to the most, which is why my devastation is so great. That being said, the general plot of the movie, the general acting of the movie, the general effects of the movie, it even for the most part, the script in the sense of the dialogue of the movie wasn't all that bad, but they did not pull off like the first act was really good. The second act had a lot of potential, wasn't as good as it could have been. The third act fell apart, and the whole movie just fell apart at that point. And therefore, it gets a lot of rap for being a horrible movie. I'm not disagreeing with it. But there are some elements of it that you can like if you just sat down and watched the first 2/3 of the movie and then like power went off at the house and you're like, oh, I'll just finish this
Oh,
some
that's
other day.
fine.
You never did. You would probably think that it was a really good movie because you didn't see that last third. That last, yeah, it's not good. It's not good, which is sad because I wanted it to be good. That's all.
Do you think it was a mistake not casting Nathan Fillion?
As a Green Lantern?
Yes. Just off the top of my head.
No. I feel like he would have filled a similar niche to what Ryan Reynolds filled in that role already, as far as a wisecracking cowboy, which is not really something you think of Ryan Reynolds necessarily being as far as the cowboy part of it. But I mean, that's really essentially what Deadpool is a cowboy at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I think Ryan Reynolds did, for the part that was there, Ryan Reynolds did as good of a job as can be expected. And I don't think that having Nathan Fillion in that role would have changed the outcome of the movie in any way, shape, or form. I do think Nathan Fillion would have been a great Green Lantern. And
for those who don't know, Nathan Fillion voice actors Green Lantern a lot.
He does.
And Nathan Fillion is, for especially people who don't know, he's been kind of around a lot more lately, but got probably most famous to his Firefly play.
Well,
he plays Captain Reynolds.
I would say in the geek community, I think regular lay people, if you will, who aren't geeks, would probably know him as Castle above anything else.
So then he played Castle for a long time. He did Captain Horrible Sing-Along Blog, which was the poster. It's still up here, but it's moved over. So the Firefly ship. So both related. Most people do not know what that is, though. The Captain Horrible Sing-Along Blog, which is sad if you don't.
It is.
Then he's recently been in The Rookie, which is a cop kind of comedy drama.
Is that still on the air? Because I saw a lot of things
about it. It did a couple
it
seasons. My wife's kind of been watching it. I don't know if it's still rolling, but he's good in it.
He is good in pretty much whatever he's in. Like I don't anything he's in, I don't expect him to suck. So yeah, it looks like season 2 is on the air right now, so it made through the first season. Good job.
Cool. I think they should have cast him as Green Lantern, but that's okay. I bet you he's glad they didn't, because there was a big push to get him. If I remember on the internet, they're like, "Hey, you got to do this." And Ryan Reynolds was a good pick, but I think it would have been awesome to see it. But I bet you he's glad he didn't.
Yeah. And honestly, he was probably a tad on the old side for.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a while ago.
He could have squeaked it in.
He could have. He definitely could have.
I don't think he could do it today, but.
Unless they pulled a Ben Affleck old man superhero.
Yeah. Next thing I had on my list out of just basic news is apparently HBO has in development a Blue Beetle series.
I had heard that, and it's probably going to break my heart because it's going to be the young kid who found the alien scarab instead of the old school Blue Beetle,
which is the guy
where he is just like basically a Batman. But he's a complete dork and in no way a suave ninja type person. Right.
So I don't know where that line draws or why it changed, but I do know that it did change, and that the Blue Beetle is essentially an alien artifact, right? Like it's a power suit that's not terrestrial in nature.
Correct.
Versus the original Blue Beetle was an inventor who invents the power suit of sorts to.
Well, it's not a power suit at all. It's literally he just has gadgets.
Oh, okay.
He wears a costume, but like it's not like a power suit. It's not even really all that protective of a suit.
Gotcha. So it's literally like Batman. He just has a bunch of gadgets. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then he has a like transport vehicle sort of thing that is a giant blue beetle.
Yeah, I would guess with the way they have
That's
pushed the Blue Beetle anywhere near recently, it's going to be the kid finding the power suit alien thing.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they ended up. It wouldn't surprise me if they were smart, because in newer post New 52 DC continuity, where Ted Kord, the original Blue Beetle, is not dead because he did die back in the old school continuity. But in the new one, he's not dead, and they've kind of played it as he's an existing older hero who's more or less retired, and then this new kid who finds the thing comes out, and because of the namesake and being in the same town, he kind of takes him under his wing. Yeah, so he takes the name, and then the older guy kind of helps him out and mentors him to a certain extent, which does not really fit super well, as far as the old school Blue Beetle was really more slapstick.
Gotcha.
Than, like, he had his serious moments, but this play is
Well,
probably
everything
what
has
they
to
do
be
with HBO.
serious now, right?
Everything.
Everything.
I mean, we all know that The Tick, which is on Amazon, probably one of the easiest to do something that doesn't work that well. The word for something that you put a show on, I don't know, platform. There we go. I have words. One of the easiest platforms is Amazon, in my opinion. And that show only lasted like a season and a half, which was sad. The Tick.
I just realized the music was still playing. I thought I shut that off. So good. We won't be able. We'll have to mute all of that. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So well, that'll be interesting. HBO's done some pretty good stuff, obviously, over the years. I have not heard good things about the Watchmen series.
I was
heard
about to say,
things.
have you seen that at all?
No,
because I have not. Yeah,
I've had a couple people approach me with the Watchmen, and most of them, at least the ones that I would think more critical about it, have said it's kind of garbage. I've had a couple people say it was good, but it's hard to decipher that because everybody watches a show the way they want to watch a show, and that's fine. No qualms about how you enjoy your media. Just like you shouldn't have qualms when I critically take it apart because I'm thinking about it a little harder. If the show was fun for you because it was really well made, that's fine. But if you're critically thinking about storyline, and especially comic books, because there's a lineage there, and whether it's creative license or not, to me, keeping the spirit of the comic book that you're trying to make the show about is crucial. It's just a thing I have to have. And some people, I have not watched it, so I can't really say, but some of the people that I think I would trust opinion of said it was not great.
Well, in the way of keeping the spirit of the comic book, anything you do by Alan Moore, you're already not doing that, because Alan Moore is like, screw other medias. This is supposed to be a comic book. Stop remaking my stuff.
Oh, sweet. Hold on. I'm losing packets like crazy all of a sudden. Why? What is going on here?
This is the joy of live streaming, folks.
It's a good thing I'm recording it, because at least then I can put it back up on YouTube and we won't have that problem. I don't have anything open.
Could it be that our lovely internet provider is just crap? I will say you haven't like bugged out at all on my side of the video.
Yeah, it says we're losing 20% of my packets right now, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
It says it's still going. Yeah, my outbound is pegged out. So awesome. Technical difficulties. All right. And don't really know what it is that's causing it. Last time it was like Windows updates or something, which is super cool. All right. Well, it seems to have died down a little bit.
It took care of itself.
All right. Sorry about that. I probably should just talk through it and just did the recording, but
yeah, whatever.
keep an eye on it. All right, we're not dropping any packets anymore. So I don't know what. Something just kicked off an upload and just shat the bed. Which is funny because I don't have anything running. Anyway.
We like it less choppy, that's for sure.
Watchmen sucks. And okay, real quick, just because we're running kind of long on this part, probably is I had a comment about Joaquin Phoenix talking about the Joker, and he totally gets in that lady's face about. I don't know if you saw that, but at the Golden Globes or something, somebody asked him about playing the Joker, and he was all like, "Haven't we done this already? Like, do we have to keep talking about this? I finished that movie like 6 months ago. I thought that was over, and in classic Joaquin Phoenix tradition, I thought that was pretty asshole level. I mean, I get where he's coming from, and I'd be sick of it too, but like this is part of the job, right? Like it's.
Yep. I mean,
you made the thing. It's critically acclaimed. It's thank you, detail. Like, yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh, now it says we're dropping packets again. We put this off.
Shut it down.
Oh. There's nothing running. I don't know what it is. What's funny is I do this like every night and no problems. We haven't had a problem last time we did this either.
It's weird, and I don't know why.
Intermission music. Do 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 do. It's Bale again. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, here's the good news.
Talk about Joaquin Phoenix being a butthole.
The good news is he can do that, and it's fine.
Or watching for. Oh yeah, somebody might be on my Plex server. Maybe I should look at that. That'd be awesome if it is. Let me look. I mean, I don't have a Plex server. What are you talking about?
Certainly I don't share a Plex server with anybody.
No, definitely. It's all on
that would not be okay.
Doctor Strange, Scott Dickerson officially left the project. The guy who did the first one.
I did hear that. I don't know that I care. Which is the weird thing about Marvel movies, is that most of them, I really don't care who the director is, because
it tends not to matter.
Yeah, I mean, with the possible exception of Taiki or whatever his name is, the Thor guy, and maybe James Gunn. Like, I feel like those are really the only two recently who seem to make their own mark on the movie. And I think the only reason they were allowed to make their own marks on those movies was because those were the sort of marks that Kevin Feige wanted. Did I say that wrong again? Feige. There we go. And I think that if you have any director who has a vision that does not align as well as what theirs did to what he wants, then they just either don't make the movie or they make not the movie that they want. So yeah, I'm not entirely surprised if he stepped away from it. I also don't think it will really affect the movie very much at the end of the day. And I might end up being wrong. I'd be okay with being wrong. Because I do think Marvel is reaching the point now where they're going to have to start mixing it up. Like, I'm excited to see the Black Widow movie. The previews look really cool. But they just kind of look like more Marvel movie. The more, like, I've let it sit
right
and just kind of digest. It's just more Marvel movie. And I like that. But it's not exciting.
I don't know how I feel about it. I really enjoyed the first Doctor Strange movie. I thought it had a pretty good style to it. It was maybe a little better defined than some of the other Marvel movies. Not quite
Visually, yes. Absolutely.
Not quite to the level of maybe James Gunn and the Guardians of the Galaxy, but yeah, some of the visualizations went like super off the wall, which was super fun. So having him not continue that franchise is a bit of a bummer to me. Sorry, I'm still kind of troubleshooting this. Just making for an amazing amount of entertainment. My internet is completely pegged out uploads, which is not normal when we do this. So again, we're recording this. If you can hear us during the live stream, it will go up on YouTube, and we definitely can have that talk.
And you're welcome.
Yeah, you can definitely rewatch this part. Hopefully, whatever it is that is destroying my internet right now, it stops. Other than trying to like walk through the house and shut off every device, which I've already done. I don't know what it is, so I apologize.
It turns out that every single one of your small children are not in bed, and they're uploading video on their tablets and downloading 20 million terabytes of programming.
Good for them. Good for them.
All of them.
Let's see. And then finally, I thought on a sadder note, the Brice Armstrong, the voice actor who does the announcing, and he's done some of the minor characters of Dragon Ball, the narrator, died.
No.
Passed away.
That is really sad.
Just a little tribute to that because it's super sad. I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball. We've talked about it here before. It's all yummy stuff, and it's a bummer because he was a great part of that whole universe from front to finish. The American dubbed versions is who I'm talking about too, not like the Japanese original voice actor. Yeah, like I can't even surf the internet right now. Like try to get to the Border Cloud thing to check my firewall. Sweet. So sorry about the internet. You're just gonna have to deal with it, I guess.
Crazy.
Let's see here. Our only chat tonight is D-Tao telling us how terrible we are. So that's super fun. What's up, chat? Not that you can hear us because we're breaking up like crazy. Where'd my notes go? All right. So that was all just some like random news stuff. I saw 3 new trailers that are worth talking about. In order of importance to me was New Mutants, Morbius.
Was there a new trailer for New Mutants?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the last month.
I saw the first trailer for that like a year and a half ago.
Oh no, there is a legit New Mutants like full trailer now, which came out in not so long ago. And I thought it looked amazing. Like I thought it looked really good. It's really dark. It's I guess I don't know New Mutants a lot, but the premise looks like it's almost horrified version of Xavier's School for Mutants. They get kind of quasi abducted or at least committed to this hospital for mutants, and it's not on the up and up from what the looks are of it. And it looks great. So Arya Stark plays one of the characters, and it all looks super great. So I don't know if you've.
Well, I will say that the old school trailer looked really, really good as well. Which what you just described sounds pretty much what the first trailer looked like and sounded like.
So I am excited for that because that comes out this year, I believe.
Yes. It was originally supposed to come out like last year, or maybe even 2018. I don't remember what it was supposed to come out.
It's had some delays, right?
Ago. Yeah, and it's been mostly Fox put it back for just scheduling reasons. As far as the original weekend ended up going up against some other really big superhero movie, and so they were like, we're gonna push it back. And then the more they pushed it back, the more it coincided with
Other X-Men stuff.
other X-Men stuff. And then when Disney bought it, they were like, we are just going to put this on hold for a while because it's basically a movie that was in the can, but they didn't like some aspects of it. So once Disney bought out Fox, they ended up doing a lot of reshoots and basically changing things in it a little bit more. So I'm really curious what we're going to get now. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be a good movie.
Have you
I'm looking
watched
forward to it.
the Morbius trailer?
I have. And it's going to be a movie.
I can't tell if they're trying too hard to do Batman, because obviously there's notes there.
Sure.
And the trailer kind of gives that note, which is kind of silly.
Here's the problem I have with this movie. It's being made by Sony.
Yep, because it is technically part of the Spider-Verse property.
Right. Which Sony and Marvel keep going this back and forth thing where like Sony's like, well, it's in the same universe as Spider-Man, Tom Holland, and Marvel's like, yeah, but that's our universe, and you're not really part of that. They're like, but we have the rights to Tom Holland Spider-Man, so we can say it's in that universe.
Right.
And then sometimes Marvel, like Kevin Feige, is just very much just like, no, absolutely not. And then other times he just kind of puts on a smile and he's like, who's to know? Who's to say what's in what universe and blah blah blah. It's like, oh my god. But the reason why I don't like that Sony's doing it is because you cannot have this movie and have it be good without some sort of reference or cameo of Blade. And that's all. That's how I feel about that.
I pretty much agree. I'm not sure what to think about it. Again, we talked about earlier, he was Joker before, so it's kind of weird to see him move into this property as a main character. I don't know. It's interesting, to say the least. And I'm not sure if I'm really looking forward to it. And then kind of to kick into that segue is the next trailer I saw, which probably looks better than the original movie she was in, but was The Birds of Prey. So the Harley Quinn movie essentially is what it looks like. This looks interesting, but I'm not excited to see it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that trailer yet, or if I did, it was a teaser and then not the full one.
They've had some much larger ones where they show off a lot more of the different. So you have there's a Black Canary and a handful of other female huntresses in there, and
I remember who
it mostly looks like just the Harley Quinn show with some supporting cast. Even though they at some points tried to, oh no, we're a team, but it's really not.
I mean, if you take a Birds of Prey premise and then add on a whole super long subtitle about Harley Quinn, then you've told us what this movie is actually
right.
like.
Well, though the teasers were her too, like before they even showed other people, right? So it's kind of just, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, she essentially was the only part of Suicide Squad that screen tested well.
Right.
And so why not just let her do her thing, right? Right.
Yeah, and that's how I take it too, is they're trying to salvage something from 7. Sorry, I'm still kind of intermittently trying to figure out
things.
What the heck could possibly be sucking up all this bandwidth. Let's see here. Which I should probably just stop doing. All right. Any other trailers you've seen or any upcoming movies that I missed there? that we think would be fun?
Nothing I can think of that we haven't already talked about at some length.
Okay.
Every time I go to theaters now, which is not that often, I always see the James Bond again, which I'm looking forward to.
Yep, we mentioned that a little bit last episode, I believe.
But I feel like most of the upcoming like spring and summer movies are pretty well established. And I really haven't seen anything too new that has caught my attention or my eye.
Nice. I think so moving on from trailers, just I guess I have TV shows here. I probably should do movies next, but I got TV shows here. So what have I watched since last time we talked?
Did you see Picard?
I did. That'll probably be my longest rant. So I'll just
All
run
right.
through these real quick. I did both seasons of Lost in Space, which was Spectre Speed, even on our chat, I think was yelling out that I should watch that, and I did. Lost in Space, most people may know, was a really old sci-fi TV show that Netflix has picked up and rebooted. And it's pretty good, but it's mostly a giant disaster movie. Like that's the most of the premise is they're in space and they're on either a space station or a planet, and the planet is just cuckoo bonkers and they're just trying to survive it all. Which is fine. It's fine. I would say knowing some of the original show, because I watched it on Nick at Night or some crazy thing. I don't remember the robot being in this. Spoilers, the robot's an alien, because that happens pretty quick. So in the original one, they have a robot that comes with them, and it's kind of almost like their butler, and it's like, Danger, Will Robinson. And this, it's like an alien, and there's a whole huge dramatic backstory to it, and like, it's not like theirs, so it's kind of weird. I finished Jack Ryan season 2, which I really liked the first season. I'd say the second season holds up. I still can't get past Jim from The Office making serious face from time to time. Like he was in O Dark 30 or whatever the Benghazi movie was.
Yeah.
Not
13 hours?
Yeah. That whatever the hour one was. So the Benghazi movie he was really good in. I liked that.
It was great. And he was buddies with Pam's ex from The Office, who was also in that movie with him, which was the best.
That was super fun. And he brings some of that intensity to this, and most of the time it works. But there's occasionally like dramatic parts, like not action parts, but like dramatic, like I need to be brooding in a hallway talking to somebody about something that's making me mad, and he's trying to make a brooding face. And I'm just waiting for him to cut to a like camera in a side room.
Looks at the camera.
Like, it's like, this is silly. But other than that, if you like the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan universe, the Clear and Present Dangers, the Hunt for October, the Patriot Games, that whole series of movies, we are at like 48% packet lots. Like whoever's listening out there cannot hear us right now.
Well, I can just say whatever I want then. Except we're recording, so
I could always cut it out before.
God
damn, that sucks. I wish I knew. I mean, nothing's using my network at all except for OBS and Zoom. So
can you lower your video quality for the Zoom without lowering your video quality for the Twitch stream?
Don't know. Never tried.
Because this entire time, like I said, like between as far as like our call through Zoom has had 0 drops or 0 quality even or freeze up or anything.
It's just the video. Thank you, Root Brick. Well, I don't know. Like I said, this has not been a problem before. And we're using Zoom, which is probably I hate Zoom. Let's see, video settings. I don't get to tell it what like level of quality to use from what I can tell. Which it sucks because probably there's some advanced features that probably need to pay for or something. It says I'm only sending like 4 megs up, which should be. I'm only supposed to be sending 4 megs up on both of them, which is how I planned it, which would be 8 of my 10. So something else is uploading that's not normally uploading.
Weird.
Yeah. So anyway, well, if you can hear me, we'll just keep going. Thank you for letting me know that. We'll just let the chop happen, and if people want to go back and look at our gorgeous faces in real time later.
Maybe.
So Jack Ryan was fine. It was great. Another piece of news
That
which could have
was
been up in the Altered Carbon Netflix amazing book series
season 2.
is getting season 2, which we kind of knew was coming. They finally released a soon, very soon. For those who don't know, so a lot of my theme here is cyberpunk stuff. I love cyberpunk stuff. The Altered Carbon books are very cyberpunky, and it involves the protagonist is an ex like special force military guy. I would slaughter his name, and he ends up like in prison for a long time, like long enough that everybody he knows is pretty much dead. And when they give you prison in this universe, all your existence, your soul, your personality, your consciousness is on a chip in the back of your head. So they just offload you from your body, throw you in a computer simulation or cold storage or whatever, and then you wake up 1,000 years later or 100 years later or whatever your sentence is. You get jacked back into a new body and sent on your way. But since he's a special, like super black ops, like special dude, the first book when he gets brought in, he's put into a body, and then there's like this. Oh, it's almost like an old noir murder mystery pursues after that. So if you like those old like trench coat wearing, hard times, noir mystery novels, it's like that set in a cyberpunk universe where like there's virtual reality and there's all this like really cyberpunk scene. And it was super good. The book is amazing. The TV show did a pretty good job. I enjoyed it. The main actor, which I am now going to forget his name, he's been in some things, but he did a super good job. But the thing with this show is, since your consciousness is moved from body to body every time something new happens, like in the book, he's not the same guy every book. He's the same guy inside his head, but he's always in a different body. So the next season is being played by Anthony Mackie, who is the Falcon from the Avengers movies and the upcoming Bucky and Falcon TV show on Disney Plus. So I'm really excited they stuck with that, because the show did pretty good, I thought, for them. A lot of people who did watch it liked it a lot, and they could have been stupid and just kept the same character for some reason, the same actor, and they are not doing that, which is super good, because every season should be a new actor, because it should be a new body, so to speak. So I'm very excited to see Altered Carbon season 2.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts when I saw that. Like I was happily surprised that they brought in a completely new actor, because it is what the story needs, but not the sort of thing that I expect most
It's
Hollywood TV people to choose to do. So I was very happy with that. I am curious to see how much they follow or touch upon elements of the second book, because most of what I had heard plot wise did not line up super well with what the second book actually contains, which arguably is, of the three, because it's basically a trilogy, the weaker of the three.
You read all three of them?
Ironically, I still have not gotten through Woken Furies, but everybody tells me that it's way better than the second one.
It is. The second one is bland compared to the first one and the third one, so it's still fun.
Still enjoyed the second one.
The second one doesn't keep that like noir murder mystery feel.
No, it's very much a wartime.
We found alien
more
artifacts.
Espionage. Yeah, it's like wartime espionage with a lot of incorporated. Yeah, that kind of, it still fits with the cyberpunk sort of theme in that sense. But then you throw in all this like weird alien artifact stuff that really was maybe hinted at in the first book, but really not.
Right.
And it's I find it interesting just because of how different it is from the first book. But as far as like an engaging story, it's not as engaging. But most of what I heard for the plot of season 2 sounded kind of like it was kind of trying to retread the whole season 1 solving a mystery thing, and I'm okay with that. But then some of like the episode title names seem to correlate with things from the second book, and I'm just like, I don't know how you're going to kind of combine the two like that.
All right, so I guess since we're talking about 2, I honestly don't know if I care what they do with season 2. It's because I didn't care with the book that much.
Sure.
It's good and it adds to the universe, and I like all that stuff. I think my biggest problem right now with the show, if I had one major gripe, which I gave, so Kyle got me into these books, and I've talked to him about this a couple times. If I had one major gripe for this show, the worst writing about the show is Kovacs, or whatever his name's previous life. So the nice thing about the first book is, as I alluded to, he's in prison. So when he gets out of mind prison, he gets jacked into a new body, and this noir thing pursues because of his special abilities from being trained all these years. He has all these really good, almost detective skills. Plus, he's a badass and can kill a bunch of stuff. Like, he's just overall badass. He, in the books, is kind of a piece of crap, right? Like, his history is a bit of a piece of shit. So when he comes in, and by the time the book is done, there's almost this level of redemption, right? He's still kind of an asshole, but he does. Excuse me. For some reason, I'm dying from throat now. For some reason, he's still an asshole, but somehow he comes through to do the right things at the end of this. So at the end of the day, he's the good guy. But it's almost a redemption story because he previously was an a-hole. These special forces guys are all a-holes. Like, everything's a-hole. In the TV show, they do a lot of cuts to the past, his original body, his original when he was doing this stuff. And before he gets put down, he already does his redemption arc in the past. He becomes like a freedom fighter, which is not anything in the book that I ever remember reading. Not anything. And like so like his redemption as a character happens before he gets revived in this new world, and all this kind of like story takes place, and it honestly kills the arc for me. Everything else they do right. Like, it's a gorgeous setting. They do all the characters are great. Like, they do a lot right, but the core elements of his character really get destroyed in my mind because it's not the story of his kind of coming out of this and having a redemption arc and doing the right thing as this, like, even though it may mean his life's a little shittier, he does the right thing. And in this, he comes out of prison already being a good guy. And so you kind of already know he's just going to be a good guy at the end of the day, even though he plays a hard ass character. Like, he was already turned to a good guy before he got put down. And that to me is the only, like, that bugged the hell out of me for a long time. So I hope that's not spoilers or anything, but it just drives me nuts that kind of happened. Other than that, the show is fantastic. I highly recommend it as a watch. It's really good.
And I would say that character trait really carries over into the second book as well, because one of the driving factors of the second book is that at the end of the day, he's like, I'm just out for myself with this because there's no good way through this and out of this, and I just want this to turn out the best for me.
Right.
And then he kind of has a few similar points where it's like, when his back is up against the wall, or like, and maybe this is more spoilers too, but like when his back up is against the wall, he's just kind of like, all right, fine, I'll do the nice thing or the good thing. But it's very much not part of his normal character, which is why when those moments happen, they have an effect or a value, if you will, because it's not part of his normal thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for that show to come out. Very excited. So let's get to the other TV show I've watched. Have you watched it?
Maybe. Probably not. What are we talking about?
Picard.
Oh no, I did not.
Captain
I
Jean-Luc
I have
Picard
it
of the
prepared to
USS
watch.
Enterprise. Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. I am not a merry man. If anybody remembers really, really old internet memes, they will remember that song. You may have to be almost 40 to remember
Old.
that meme. Maybe I'll link it in the description.
Back when the internet wasn't necessarily YouTube, but just really, really silly short
Random videos.
MP4 videos. Yeah.
That may have been a YMTD. You're the man now, dog. I don't remember where that came from exactly, or very early YouTube, something really old.
Yeah.
So, I will do my normal preface it here. I am a big Trekkie. I am not the biggest Trekkie. I am not going to go toe to toe with what episode of what season did what. But I have watched almost every single episode of every Star Trek thing there is, minus the last half of season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. I have watched multiple fan films that have been made, like Star Trek Renegade or whatever it was called, which had a bunch of ex-cast members from different things, like the Doctor from Voyager and stuff. Like, this is a universe I love. This is a universe I love so much. I actually get in trouble because I used to ask people in interview questions if they like Star Trek or Star Wars better, which the right answer was both. Actually, there was no right answer. I just wanted to see if you'd squirm in front of me, but I was told to stop asking this question. So this is a big deal for me. I am a Star Trek fan, big Star Trek fan. Star Trek Discovery is a show that CBS put out on its live streaming service. It's now in its second season, or it's finished up its second season, and it's a complete pile of dog shit. There are a couple episodes here and there, especially when they bring Pike back. So some of it's Captain Pike. That show takes place before / into the Enterprise, the original series. So it's kind of the ultimate prequel, other than, I guess this would be well after Enterprise. Scott Bakula, but it's complete dog shit. It's so bad. You can definitely tell whoever wrote that series has no idea what Star Trek is or what it's about and why. There's no spirit or Roddenberry here at all. So they announced Picard, Star Trek Picard. Let's also note that Star Trek Discovery spells out STD, which is about what it's worth. So Star Trek Picard comes out, and this last Friday, it aired. That's a very old term, I guess, nowadays. The first episode is live for streaming.
Became available.
So I watched it instantly. I was super hyped to check it out because everybody loves Jean-Luc Picard. He's my captain. I grew up in TNG, the Next Generation era. My family would sit down on Saturdays at like 6 or 7 o'clock whenever it actually aired over the air, and would have dinner sitting on the couch watching that show. Like, it was an event for me. And I've seen all 7 seasons of that over and over and over. I love it to death. It is by far one of my favorite things from my childhood and from my life. So Picard is coming back on. I want to see Jean-Luc Picard. I want to see Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. And I'm assuming he's obviously old. The man's 70s, late 70s. So I'm very interested how they're going to portray this very old Captain Picard and what he's going to do. And then I start seeing trailers and I start getting upset. So admittedly, I went into it not like my level of excitement was dropping, because there's like, and none of this is in the show yet, but there's like a Vulcan samurai and like all this other weird shit. And at the end of the day, it turns into hot garbage. It's just hot garbage. I do not recommend the first episode. I'm going to give it a couple more chances, because maybe this is like a pilot problem where like it's just garbage and then the rest of them will be fine. Because I don't know how CBS operates with their streaming service, but CBS is one of those old school companies that used to do pilots. So I'm just kind of praying that they're just and I feel
that sucks.
Yeah. So STD had that. So Star Trek Discovery, their first episode was very different than a lot of their other episodes, and it was very much a pilot-esque episode. And it didn't get better, but it did change a lot of tone after the first one. So I'm hoping this kind of has that same thing. So I don't really care about spoilers here, so I might say some of them, but I was talking about this with some guys at work earlier today, and the most egregious part isn't that Patrick Stewart is super old. It's not the 17-minute...
Which he is 79, almost 80 years old.
Almost 80. Okay, so I called that.
Yeah.
It should be the 17-minute action scene where he actually gets blown up and survives as a 78-year-old man. But it's not even that. I'll cut them the slack for these weird, stupid action scenes where there's these assassins going after this girl that like mystically shows up and all this kind of garbage nonsense. What I'm going to be super mad about as a Star Trek fan, and if you watch the show and you've never watched Star Trek, then this won't matter to you, is they destroy the Federation in literally a like less than 5-minute scene. Picard is near the beginning of the show, is getting ready for his first TV interview since he retired from the Federation, which again, this idea of like TV shows and the Federation, like nobody in any Star Trek ever watched a TV show before. Like they were clicking the news on to like watch some news anchor interview people. So this is already weird. So they set up in his house. He's retired to his vineyard in France, you know, that whole old thing from the show. And this lady gets on, and she's from FNN. I'm assuming that's Federation News Network. But it's very much a political statement, obviously geared to something like Fox News. And they go like, so the preceding story is that Picard, during the end of his term in Starfleet, went and led a mission to try to evacuate the Romulans from their home planet before the star went supernova. So if you've been watching the J.J. Abrams movies, you'll know that the last one, was it the last one? Or
the first one.
Was it the first? Oh, yeah, it was the first one, because the last one was the Section 6 bullshit. So the first one he did, the star blows up. There's the Romulan travels back in time, tries to kill Kirk early, all this other crap. So Spock tries to stop it with the antimatter missile, and things go wrong, whatever. So in this timeline, obviously that happens. The supernova goes off. The Romulans' planet is all going to be killed. And he goes to help them, which is very much what he should do and very much what the Federation would have done, regardless of their past, regardless of the Romulans, regardless of anything. For the most part, they've been just like, you stay on your side of the fence, we'll stay on ours, not mortal enemies. But full-heartedly, Next Generation Star Trek would have totally went and helped them evacuate their planet, regardless of the bad blood between them. If they would have said, hey, help us, they would have went and done it. No questions asked. Doesn't matter. So this news lady is pulling a Sean Hannity xenophobe, like, oh, you went and helped the Romulans, or, you know, like those people. And like, apparently at some point the Federation pulled out, and so he kind of went renegade and went and got like a bunch of like civilian ships and like helped a bunch of people out, and like he was kind of a hero, but like he had to fall out because the Federation, the weird conservative, like build the wall people, hate the Romulans because of who they are. And like there's this like almost racist element when Star Trek has cured racism like hundreds of years before Kirk steps on the bridge. You know, like the whole point of Roddenberry's vision, in my mind, if I put it out there, is that he wanted to show an elevated version of humanity that is able to hang among the stars. The Federation of Planets is like 100 some odd planets. It's not Earth, even though they're headquartered on Earth. It's much like the UN, where it's headquartered in New York, but it's not necessarily run by America.
It's not New York that is the UN
in charge of it. And the idea in the show is now that the evil human, so instead, okay, let me get back. Gene Roddenberry's vision is, here are humans. We have succeeded. We are great. We've cured hunger. We have cured energy crisis. The laws of supply and demand almost don't function anymore because we have abundancy beyond imagination. So for the most part, our civilization is beyond these petty things. And I want to show you how that exists. But to put it in contrast, what we will have the crew do is meet new civilizations that have our old problems, right? So highlight our problems. Here's a planet, a species, a ship, whatever we come across. They're going to have racism. They're going to have poverty. They're going to have some weird casteism. They're going to have sexism, like all this weird stuff he wants to tackle. However, whatever side on these you are, it doesn't matter. But this is Roddenberry's vision, is we'll have our elevated version of self go and tackle the problems of today, proxy these alien species we meet, and try to elevate them with us too, and kind of show why these things are bad or what we can do. And that's the formula. That's always been the formula. Like good or bad, different ways, whatever. That's mostly the formula. And this is why in previous episodes I have mentioned this. We're at like 63% loss. I don't know what's going on.
What's going on is your internet hates you.
It does. Watch it on YouTube later. And so this takes.
You're watching this on YouTube later, right now. Keep going.
For you watching it, thank you very much. So they take that and totally flip it on its head. They completely destroy that in like this 2-second clip where this woman is being completely awful about the idea that we wasted resources to go help save an entire species from absolute extinction. Let's put aside the facts that the Romulan Star Empire is gigantic and they have hundreds of planets and
hundreds of their own ships to evacuate things.
Ships and all that kind of stuff. I think Red Letter Media brings up some of that too on their review, but
probably
I will definitely say that's whatever. If we could help, we would have in that case. Like that's just what it is. And that, I mean, that's so far stupid. It's not even funny. Like we would do that today. Like literally if Russia or China, these boogeyman countries that we have for the US, had some catastrophic thing happen and they're like, hey, send as many ships as you can. We'll try to evacuate as many people as we can. I guarantee you we'd do it. We wouldn't be like, oh, fuck Russians. You know, like we'd all be like, oh yeah, there's literally 1 billion people about to die. Let's go save as many as we can. And we would go. So the fact that this is happening in hundreds and hundreds of years from the future in a universe that has well-established canon for decades and decades of not being like this at all, is beyond infuriating to me. That's why this show is complete and total hot garbage, is because the writers of this show are SJW snowflake idiots. And I'm sorry if those words piss you off, but not you, Ryan. I know they don't. Like, they don't know Star Trek. They don't understand the vision that there's trying to be happening. Roddenberry is not only literally dead, he's figuratively dead in these. Like, and the same thing happened with STD, which I expected, but I was really hoping Picard would be a little better, and it's not. Like, and then anything past that does not redeem the show at all. There's so far Jean-Luc Picard or Patrick Stewart is great. He can still act. He commands presence on certain scenes. He's even good in that scene where he's like telling the lady, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, we should save these people. And for the Federation to pull out of this, that was stupid. And that's true. He does a good job, but that shouldn't have been a scene. Like, that commentary should not have been it. I don't know. Okay. I'm ranting too long now, but it's absolutely awful to me that they pulled that stunt. And then the rest of the show is literally like super hyped up action, which when you contrast that with an 80-year-old man who obviously is
doesn't work so well.
I mean, he's not a spring chicken. He does not look like one. It just doesn't contrast right. Like, I just want really old, wise Picard. You know what I mean?
Not action hero old Picard.
I mean, he was never an action hero in Star Trek. I mean, there was times where he's like rock climbing.
Shoots a phaser, was pretty actiony.
Get out of here. Yeah, I suppose he does fight the Borg Queen. The movies don't count. They're terrible. All of them are terrible. And I love some of them. Like Generations, I love that movie to death. Most people would hate me for that.
Yeah. I do think First Contact was a decent movie. That might be the only one that I would call a decent movie of the Next Generation movies. The First Contact was decent. Generations was fun in its own way. The last two were horrible.
How much? So I was curious about this. and maybe you can correct me. I have a feeling you guys, when you were younger, did not watch a lot of TV in your household. Did you watch a lot of TV? Did you watch Star Trek when it was on?
I watched a decent amount of Star Trek. Usually, like Next Generation was more after we got satellite TV, and it was in
Rerun already?
syndication. And so, like, you get home from school, and it was either cartoons or Star Trek. Basically, it was on TV that I would watch.
Gotcha.
So I watched a decent amount of Star Trek. Like my dad, for as at times mindlessly conservative as he was, for whatever reason, was kind of okay with Star Trek. Which I guess really isn't that surprising, but is also kind of surprising in a lot of ways. But so unlike Star Wars, which I was not allowed to watch, Star Trek was fine. But TV, it really depended. Like my parents were very conservative, and like Jerry Seinfeld wasn't allowed to be on in the home. The Simpsons were not allowed to be on in the home.
Well, even so, my parents were not as restrictive as I would say yours was. Not to say yours were like super restrictive or anything, but
at times they were.
The Simpsons were also. I remember that being faux pas from time to time. Show IP ARP. I'm really getting crazy with this right now. So, yeah, even my parents were a little like, this because back then, so the Simpsons are actually not that much younger than us.
Right.
Started in mid '80s or whatever. And the original seasons, like handful of seasons, had things like the Itchy and Scratchy show where they were actually like gruesomely killing each other. And like Homer was actually physically attacking Bart. Those were awesome. They were the best seasons. They were
the like strangling of Bart. Like
they were super hilarious. But at the end of the day, like parents were like, So I remember two shows that I really were not supposed to watch a whole lot. The Simpsons were like, shouldn't. And then Beavis and Butthead was like a hard no. So of course, sorry, Ma. I had to watch Beavis and Butthead as much as I could. And it was hilarious. It was just absolutely hilarious. But I totally understand why they didn't want me watching that as a young.
Well, see, I should also qualify that like most of my saying when I was and wasn't allowed to watch all these things, like we didn't get satellite until I was probably like 13. So like really most of these things were not options for me until I was a teenager. So it wasn't like me as a little kid. It was like me as a teen, which is a little bit different, but yeah, Beavis and Butthead is definitely not a children's show.
Yeah. Agreed. To sidetrack a little bit, the newest season that got greenlit, I think they only made one extra season, was actually pretty decent. So anyway, that's all the TV I had, unless you had extra thoughts on Picard, which you have not watched yet. So, well,
I have not.
Assume you do.
No, the only other thing that I had TV wise was just, I know that on our last one I talked about how I had intended to catch up on The Expanse.
Oh yes,
especially with the new season out.
Yeah.
And I did make my way all the way through season 3, and I'm like halfway through season 4. And I will say that season 3 was weird for me because it was the first one where I had read the book before watching the TV series and got ahead of the TV series, and it made me not like the TV series as much.
Oh no.
Whereas up until this point, I'd always watched the TV series first, loved it, thought it was the best, read the books, and was like, oh, I really like the books too. And for whatever reason, with season 3/book 3, it didn't do it for me. And it's probably because the third book didn't kick in until like halfway through season 3, but they put the entire book's worth of plot. Oh, thanks, Mindy.
Nerds. Standard nerds.
But they put the entire third book into like 6 episodes. And it was just really rushed and like had zero nuance to it. and I just really didn't care for it. I don't know why. I just didn't care for it.
Well, you're wrong.
That's fine. But I am making a point of watching all of season 4 before I start the 4th book. So we'll see if that puts me back in the right headspace for it.
So you said season 3 was the one?
Yeah, so season 3, like the first half of season 3, basically where they're still rescuing the girl and running around with like the Asian doctor guy from the moon. Like that's all book 2.
Right.
And then that suddenly that story arc ends, and then they throw in the whole go through the ring thing.
Yep.
Which, spoilers, everybody. And then like that is book 3, is like the whole going through the ring thing. That's pretty much it.
So that's okay. That's interesting. See, I don't know the books at all.
Is your internet still sucking?
Yeah. Hey, Playfy Poo.
And now chat's alive. We just needed Mindy to come in and get it going.
I know. Trying to see if I could shut off.
Don't you have like fancy smart routers that you can see
Yeah.
what devices are doing what? I mean, you are the network guy.
Shut off that box behind me too. I don't know. It's hard to tell. So I have a dumb switch in my office here where I'm at. So there's a couple things connected to that, and I can't necessarily see what they're doing.
Probably those Tetris lights.
It might
They're
be
smart,
these
aren't they?
internet connected Tetris lights. No, I don't really know. My firewall. So I have a decent firewall, and it is not telling me a whole lot about what exactly is being the culprit, which is.
Well, the good news is that you just broke up on our Zoom video call for the first time.
For the first time. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, see, it did say this says Plex on my firewall says Plex is bad.
Shut down Plex.
Or something. It also says my browser is bad. It's hard to tell. Anyway, so I still love The Expanse to death, but I have not read the books. The season 4 I thought did a good job of like picking up the pieces of the entire dynamic of the world changing, even though it gets much more expansive.
That's true.
I really like it. I can't say enough good things about it.
That's because it's fantastic.
It is. So I just won't read the books. That's what I.
No, you can read the books. Just read the books after
enjoy it
after
first.
you watch the show. Yeah.
Cool. Was there any other shows you've been watching?
No, the fact that I made it through like 15 episodes of The Expanse and 8 episodes of Jack Ryan all in like a 2-week span.
Jack Ryan was the other one you watched. Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you watched The Witcher, kind of the last half of it.
Yeah, over Christmas, I was down at my brother's, and him and my cousin were watching it, and so like I missed the first couple episodes, but they were just in the middle of watching it over Christmas, so I was just like, I'll just watch it with you guys. So I got to see basically, what are there, 8 episodes? I think I watched the last 6. So I can always go back and rewatch the beginning, but yeah, it was fun. It reminded me a lot of the one audiobook that I have on Audible of The Witcher was basically what this whole season was built around. So a lot of it was review for me in the sense of the book. But I thought they did a much greater job of making the TV show. The book was very all over the place and did not feel interconnected in almost any way,
Right.
going from random story to random story to random story.
Yeah.
With a few characters who kind of go back and forth. The TV show did a really good job of taking that same plot line and making those random things fit together in a way that where you go, oh.
So I have not read the books, but from what I have heard, that was my understanding, is that they were almost like just a bunch of short stories, which actually made me excited for them making the show, because there's really no precedent there to maintain like a huge continuity. I think the most continuity that all those stories tend to have is actually Witcher 3, the video game.
The video game, yeah.
Which even that is very like, you can take it in pieces as you want. Like there's an overall arching story in the middle, but there's all this content all over the place that you can just go off and do and come back, and it doesn't necessarily affect. Good news is we have stopped dropping frames, so I guess I should have shut that thing off, even though it said it was not doing anything from everything I looked at. I should have shut it off a long time ago, so I apologize. Hey, welcome back, Twitch. For all those who are not able to watch well, it should have cleared up now. We have not dropped any frames since I shut.
Excellent.
So yeah, Witcher was fantastic. We covered that a lot in the last episode, which if you want to watch is on YouTube, and you should go and subscribe and hit the bell and hit like and
do all of the things.
You know, if you've enjoyed this podcast at 60% frame loss up to now,
imagine of what it could be.
And you're watching this on Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, you should go and hook us up with your Amazon, your Twitch Prime. So Twitch Prime, if you click that link, and you have Amazon Prime, we'll give you a free sub to my channel, and we'll give you like $2. It costs you nothing.
Do it.
It costs you like
I did it.
a couple minutes of your time. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub. And if you don't, and sponsored by Founders. So it's not actually, don't get mad at us, but if you want to sponsor us, I will tattoo this on my forehead.
Yes, Founders. Give us money.
Yeah, that's been a joke on my stream. The couple last times I had a beer with a game, I had a Founders can. So I was, sponsor us. Or anybody. I don't even care who you are. To be Founders. Outside ales.
Like,
I got one of your stickers
do I have
too.
on my desk?
I have like some short stickers in here too. Sure.
I only have this.
Well, that works. Sponsor me. So yeah, there's our pitch for the middle of it. Go like, subscribe, follow on all of our places. Down below is a bunch of links to socials. I keep everything up to date. We talk a lot of this stuff. If you want to chat more with us, which Ryan, I should probably get you in here. We created a Discord channel too. So
why am I not in the freaking Discord channel?
Because you don't actually watch my streams or care about me.
That's not true.
So if you
I
click
would
on that
not
link,
be here right now if that was.
It'll join there, and I've been posting a lot of like links to trailers and TV shows and video games and comic books and kind of fun stuff there.
How come we haven't had an update since December 19th?
What's that?
I don't know. Never mind.
I think you're in that Discord actually, the Downtrodden one.
Yeah. Is that just the one? Is it Downtrodden?
It's the same one. I just hijacked it.
Oh. Then I have been part of this the entire time.
Yeah. Dear Downtrodden, I miss you. For anybody who wonders what the Downtrodden is, it was a guild we put together for World of Warcraft some odd million years ago. And at some point I decided to see if there were any of those guys still out there, because we had kind of a click on Facebook in a Facebook group. So I created a little Discord for us all to chat in, and we chatted a little bit, but for the most part, they have not been active, which is fine. I miss you guys. It was some of the best years of my life. I never play WoW again though. Ever.
And he really means it.
All right. I totally missed this like beginning thing that I was going to ask you about. Well, we're going into movies, so let's talk about movies. You want to talk about movies?
All right. We can talk about movies.
I'm done with my Picard rant. Movies. So do you have any thoughts on the Eternals and New God movies that were announced over the last year? Because I saw some more stuff on these. Not a lot. So Jack Kirby, my understanding is Jack Kirby created the Eternals at Marvel, and it kind of died quick. So he went
Yes.
to DC and created the New Gods, which is a big deal because that's where like Darkseid comes from, and they have almost their like outside the normal universe, heaven and hell gods, superpowered beings. And Darkseid's a massive thing in the DC world. He's like the Thanos,
Yes.
I guess.
He is like, yeah, he's the
Thanos.
closest thing to a Thanos.
Yeah, in DC, which is
In
Batman.
fact, I would say as with most DC things, he's probably bigger and more epic as far as on power level schemes than what Thanos is.
I would agree with that, and I would agree he may be even a little more evil.
Yes.
Like Thanos is a bad dude, but for
Thanos is kind of a chaos dude where he just doesn't care, and he has his agenda, and it's not that he's necessarily the end all be all evil in a Lucifer sort of way, whereas Darkseid
is almost the ruler of hell.
Yeah.
In their kind of world. So they have these two opposing planets of like light and good, and he's kind of the ruler of dark side planet, or the Omega planet. Is it Omega? Doesn't matter. We don't care about DC. They're worthless. I mean, sponsors DC.
I'm gonna stop this call now.
So there are 2 movies coming out, and I don't know a lot about them, but I saw that they were announced over the last year. Eternals back when they did their big list of things like Blade, which I would like to see what they do with that. And then I don't know if New Gods was I just saw the announcement for it, but it's also a thing. So DC is coming out with their Eternals equivalent.
Yes, I mean, storyline wise, they're really 2 very different things. Visually, their design work is very similar in the sense that they're about immortals, and they're made by Jack Kirby. So there are a lot of cross elements into some of the mindsets that went into it, because they were both designed by Jack Kirby within a few years of each other. But there is a pretty big difference in both the worlds that exist in, obviously, between Marvel and DC, and also the way that those characters live and interact in those worlds. And then, they're similar, but they're very different. So I don't really know how to say that. That said, I'm probably most interested to see how the Eternals movie turns out, because I feel like this is a first of, I think I said earlier that like Marvel to me really needs to step outside of the normal Marvel box going forward here. And I say that with the knowledge that that is a lot of what they're doing, because like the Eternals is not your typical Marvel movie, at least not the characters and the and just the idea of the story. Like it's basically
I was just gonna say Fredsters, which was fun to say. Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate you being here. Chime in if you want to.
We like followers. But yeah, the Eternals is not a normal superhero thing. Like they are basically essentially these immortal beings who, I don't know exactly the story the movie is going to go, but like one of the most prominent was probably the Neil Gaiman story arc for the Eternals from a little while back, where essentially they all are living as mortals and don't remember like who they are or their past. They just think they're normal humans, and then they slowly discover who they are, and things kind of come back and they have to deal with some crisis. And my guess is it's probably going to be something along those lines.
I would hope so. That would be so cool. Just because Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Ryan got me hooked to Neil Gaiman a long time ago, and I'm a big fanboy of his.
And you're welcome. He is fantastic. But anyway, yeah. So I'm really curious to see how it's going to go. It could go really wacky, or it could be very straightforward. The New Gods one, there is no real straightforward way to do it.
Like, is it just gonna have to be over the top? Here it is.
Pretty much. Like when Jack Kirby came to DC, he was like, "Listen, I'm leaving Marvel to come here. Give me a decent amount of money and just let me do whatever the heck I want." And DC was like, "Yes, please." And so he really just did whatever he wanted. And when he came up with the whole New Gods thing, he just took the ideas that he kind of started in a somewhat repressed way in the Eternals and just went hog wild. It was like
cranked it up to 11, did what he wanted to do.
Yeah. And I think it will be interesting to see how the DC side plays it movie-wise, like Warner Brothers side, because on the one hand, I could see them kind of using this to further set up the direction they were going with their shared universe. But they don't seem to even know what they're doing with their shared universe anymore.
I don't like reboots, but I think they need to reboot that universe.
Well, here's the problem that they put themselves in right now is that they have established Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and it sells
Fantastic.
well, and it's what we want to keep. They've established, whether you thought it was a great movie or not, the Aquaman happened.
I liked Aquaman,
and it apparently a lot of people liked it because it did super duper well. They've got these movies now that are doing really well, but they painted themselves into the corner by doing the whole Zack Snyder start off thing. And like really the movies that are most, well, depending on which side, the most divisive movies they have are like the starting ones. But Shazam isn't divisive.
Right.
Shazam, everybody's like,
no, I was lumping that in with the previous, like we've established another character, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's they've been doing a good job of the last handful of movies, with the exception of Justice League, have all been really well received, good movies. But yeah, they have these divisive. I can't say the word.
No, you're absolutely right. So yeah, they have these they do have some beloved characters.
They do. And even the characters,
Wonder Woman movies are great. The Aquaman movie was definitely entertaining. I enjoyed it. The only thing I hated about that movie, to be quite honest, was the stupid ass red wig they had on that girl, the love interest.
Yeah, Mira.
Which I understand she's got like psychotically bright red hair, but that doesn't like the old comic book, like way they had to color things, like they were out of control because they had like 3 colors. Right. You couldn't make these like nuanced colors that popped on the page. So like when they gave her give her red hair, it can even be very red hair, but that thing was obnoxiously fake looking. Like just I couldn't. And let's be fair, everybody who knows me knows I'm a little bit of a sucker for redheads. I have the red hair thing going on. So I get a little testy about it too, because like give her red hair, that's fine. But that looked like clown hair. Like it was so bad. But other than that, I liked Carl Dargo, or whatever his real name is, from Game of Thrones as Aquaman, or Conan, I guess, if you watch that terrible Conan reboot.
Was he in a Conan reboot?
Yeah, he was not bad, but like the show wasn't great. Like I don't even remember it. It was so bad. No, it was a movie. It was like I don't even remember it. So that's like almost the worst type of bad. Like if it's so bad that I liked how bad it was and I remember it and I can rant about it, it's almost better than being forgettable.
Yes,
but he's great. I like him as a actor and stuff. And you know what's regrettable is the Flash. So the kid they had playing the Flash in the Justice League movie, I thought did a really good job, and I would like to see more of him. Did you see the crossover event?
That's what I was about to say. I have not seen it yet, but I heard that he actually had a cameo in it, confirming that like in the greater Warner Brothers DC thing, that there are the multiple universes, which the movie and the TV universes are together but separate.
Let's back this up because it's fun content. For you who don't know, CW for some time now has been called, I guess officially they call it the Arrowverse, since the first show was Green Arrow, but by far the Flash is the more popular show, which I love that Flash show.
It's good.
I stopped watching it after like 4 seasons, but I tend to do that no matter what the show is, because it got super repetitive and whatever. But they run Green Arrow, the Flash. Then they started doing the what's the Time Bandit ones?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Supergirl. And they bought Supergirl, or brought it over from ABC when CBS canceled it. Which Supergirl was all right for the first couple of seasons until they got rid of until they went to the CW and they got rid of the old lady that ran the newspaper. She was like the best part, and she held the show together. And then it fell off. And then now they have Batwoman, which I hear is a complete fucking train wreck. Like everything I've heard about that show is it is one of the most god awful things ever made. And from the clips I've seen, I have no reason to argue. I don't even want to try to watch it. But they did a giant crossover event. And they've done a couple of these, but this one now involved all of them.
And well, then if you're going to do that, you also have to say like they've been doing the Black Lightning show for I think this is the second season of that.
Yep.
In some of these, like the Supergirl show was clearly in a different universe. Like they did a cross-dimensional thing where like she teamed up with the Flash a couple times or something.
And that crossover was good. I watched that.
Yeah, but like other than the Flash and the Arrow being in the same universe, and then the Legends of Tomorrow people are all from that same universe. But like they had these different shows that were like kind of connected, but weren't really connected.
But with the when Supergirl came over and they did the cross event, they established the multiverse.
Yes. Yep.
And so this crossover does the DC what's the
Crisis of Infinite Earths on
obviously shows all of, is the Batgirl's in a different one, I would assume. Actually, I assume she's in a different one.
I don't know if she was or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if she was. Yeah.
And then there's multiple Supermans now that have been introduced from different ones, which they actually bring back Superman Brandon Returns, as a Superman who was in the show already.
As not Ant-Man, the Atom.
Yeah, he was in the Legends of Tomorrow as the Atom. Yeah, the guy who shrinks.
Which started as a character on Arrow, and then most of the, not all, but most of the characters from Legends of Tomorrow started as side characters on the other shows, and then ended up on that one.
Sorry, I keep getting these alerts that our stream is degraded, but it's the number is going positive. But as the number goes down, it's still ticking that it's bad. So as the negative number approaches 0, every time it refreshes, it's like, no, it's still bad.
It's not as bad, but it's still bad.
So I'm still getting alerts, even though the drop frame count has not gone up. So and from what I'm seeing here, broke our 8. So yeah, sorry. This whole thing's been a disaster with the freaking broadband problems. But yeah, so I'm interested. I actually think I might sit down and watch that. I have all of the Flash episodes, but the Flash episode, unfortunately, is the 3rd one. So I have to go back and watch the Arrow or Supergirl. I don't know which one. There's 3 of them. And when they do the crossover events in true fashion, the comic book crossover events, they spread it over multiple titles. So I'd have to go find the episodes from whatever shows are doing the first 2.
So there's actually 5 parts to this one.
Oh, this one's 5.
Yes, there were 3 parts that they did before Christmas, and then they had a hiatus, and then they had a 2-part to finish it in January when they came back.
Oh, why would you do that? Awful.
Partly because, I will say, like, the comic book event has a very distinct middle part where everything just something happens.
Shit. Yeah.
And then like it just kind of it's not really a reset point, but there's kind of a reset point, for lack of a better way of saying it, where like, okay, we've made it, whatever the conclusion of this first part is, we've concluded, and now we do part 2. And so my guess, not having seen this, that thing or something related to that thing from the comic books happened, and then they're just like, and on this thing, we're just gonna make you wait.
I don't know. That's kind of painful though for TV, right? Like,
it is a little painful for TV.
You sat through 3 of these, you've jumped multiple shows, and now you have to wait until after like a multi-week hiatus to finish 2 episodes. Like that doesn't sound like good timing to me.
It's pretty beastly. So basically, if I remember right, the first one basically had Supergirl, Batwoman, and the Flash were like all the break ones, and then when they came back, they basically finished it with an episode of Arrow, and then Legends of Tomorrow, and that gone.
How did we even get on this?
Because we were talking about DC movies.
Or how did we even get on that?
Because movies stuff. Because New Gods. That's why.
Oh yeah, New Gods. There we go. Let's crank her back. Okay. Because I do have that on my list. It was just up here in this like section.
Yeah, the up above section
that I forgot about earlier.
Some movies that are not new, or rather that are already out. I'm just gonna say, I've really not seen all the movies that I want to see. I need to go see 1917 before it's out of IMAX.
I hear that's amazing. I have not watched it. It looks
like, when I saw the first preview for it like 2 or 3 months ago, I was like, I need to watch this.
So I am 100% sucker for, whether they're fake or not, like single shot, single perspective scenes in movies.
Yes. And this is an entire movie of it?
My understanding, this is the entire movie feels like one long cut.
Yes.
Which is mind-boggling if they did it. I would say a couple prime examples of this I really liked. If you've watched, was it Birdman? The Michael Keaton movie where he's doing the play.
Yeah, that's Birdman.
Yeah, the first, yep, Birdman. Fantastic movie. If you have not watched it, I highly suggest you watch it. It's especially really good knowing he played Batman, because the way they attack his character is of a guy who played an old famous superhero called Birdman, and he's trying to prove that he actually has acting chops by playing on this like Broadway play. The whole show is one cut scene. At least it's really close. Like there's obvious cuts in there.
Not quite one cut scene, but there's a lot
it goes
of really
to the next
long
day or whatever.
But yeah.
So it'll like the camera will pan up to the moon, and then all of a sudden it's like daytime and pan back into the show. But for the most part, it acts as one big long cut. Super fun to watch. Super great way to look at it. Another one that was fun is if you've watched the Marvel Netflix shows, especially Daredevil. Each one of those, especially per season, but they tried to do it seemingly multiple times per season, but each season would have a very long action scene where he's like, the first season was him in that hallway and there's like 5 doors and he's going in and out just punching the crap out of people for like 10 minutes. And it's one cut scene with the camera walking up and down the hallway and in and out of rooms as he's beating the crap out of everybody. That stuff, oh, I am a sucker for that. I'm a huge sucker for it.
It was really good.
So I'm really excited to see 1917 just for that fact alone. For that one gimmick. You do that gimmick, you have me. Other than that, I've heard it's amazing in every other way too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so I need to see that one yet. But so instead of watching that, I watched Bad Boys for Life, which was
Bad Boys,
the most unneeded movie watching experience of my life.
How do you feel about the first two?
They are a perfect picture of what 90s action movies
Michael Bay
were in Michael Bay. Exactly. Like they were Michael Bay. The first one was like his first big Hollywood movie. Yep. So like it's
with the insane charisma of Will Smith and
Martin Lawrence in their prime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which gives more flavor to him than he deserves. Like him as a director doesn't have that. Like he doesn't have that. He just happened to have actors that could make up for his garbage writing.
He knows how to make a scene seem exciting.
Oh yeah.
He has that down to a T. But yes, he depends basically on really good actors for most of his good movies.
Which we actually talked about that in the last episode. Did you see?
Did we?
I think we talked about.
That was a month ago.
I don't either. So Netflix has a Michael Bay show out now with Ryan Reynolds. Whoa. Apparently it kicked off. So.
Well, in any case, Michael Bay did not
Six
direct
Underground.
This one.
Oh, he didn't. Okay,
he did not. I think he produced it, but like he did not direct it. And Martin Lawrence just seems really old.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just from seeing the things he's done, which it's been a while since I've seen him in something, and then seeing the trailers, he seemed aged.
Which, I mean, his character, from what I remember, because I haven't seen the first two in forever.
It was always kind of that.
But he was always kind of like that, oh man, I want to do this stuff.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, and now he really is too old for it. And so, yeah, like, that. It was okay. There was some humor to that in and of itself. I was surprised at how not mature they played the Will Smith character, who also,
I mean, how immature he was.
Right, like I remember, like, I mean, it's not like the first movie didn't express that very clearly,
right?
But
this has been,
considering this is supposed to be like 20 years later or something, or 15 years later, however long, like a long time later, like his character very, very much like goes out of his way to like just prove how much he is still thinks he's like a young cowboy. And I mean, I suppose if that's how you're going to play the character, that's how you're going to play the character.
He's still a bachelor with fancy cars and fancy suits, and
yeah, exactly. And then they try to like, I don't want to get into details of it because A, spoilers, B, nobody cares. So So I mean, it was entertaining, but it was really long. It was like 2.5 hours long, which just seemed way too long for that sort of movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was okay, but nothing great. And then I saw just this weekend The Gentleman by Guy Ritchie,
Oh yeah, I
and
want to
it
watch that.
was amazing. It was
Really?
really good.
So walk me before you get into that. Your feelings. I feel like you're in the group with us who all watched like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch.
Let me tell you a secret. I still have never seen Snatch.
Really? Oh
I have it
man.
on Blu-ray, like right over in this box of mine, but I still have never seen it.
Because I feel like you were around when I was really into that. Well,
I
you've been
was.
around. You've never not been
I've been
around at this
around for
point.
like almost ever at this point. But
um.
yeah, I never watched it. Like, I
So have
remember
you seen Lock,
really,
Stock, and
really,
Two Smoking Barrels?
I have seen that one.
So that's
Yeah,
really good. Snatch is better.
that's what I've always heard.
Okay, just like because it's basically the same movie with more polish and better actors. Like it's super good.
Yes.
Brad
I
Pitt at
would
his
say
prime. You like Diggs?
I would say with all of the different Guy Ritchie movies that have come out as of late, this is the first one, The Gentleman being the first one that feels like the old school
Yeah,
Guy Ritchie movies.
that's
Like,
what I thought. So the King Arthur movie can rot in hell.
it wasn't
I hated
horrible,
it. Oh,
but it wasn't great.
I love Guy Ritchie stuff. I hated that movie. I absolutely hated it.
It it had the same problem that the Ripley Scott and all other. It basically felt like a Robin Hood movie. I don't know how else to say it. Where like it's kind of a story that's been told 15 million times, and there was no way you were going to do it and be fresh
Sure.
without also just trying too hard. I didn't hate it.
But you like the new movie?
Yes, The Gentleman was very, very good. Matthew McConaughey does really, really well in it. Everything. It was just a really good movie. Like it, if it was good, it was fun. I recommend it.
Nice.
I don't want to say a lot about it, but it's a good movie. And the guy who played King Arthur plays Matthew McConaughey's right hand man.
Oh, he did fine in the movie. Like it's just that
Yeah.
movie's a mess. It's a hot
But
mess.
the only reason why I say that is because he was really familiar to me, and I know that I had seen him in movies before, and it did not click until we had just had this discussion that that was the guy who played the King Arthur character in that movie, and that's why he looks so familiar.
Nice.
Also, supposedly they're doing the third Sherlock Holmes now. Well, they've been talking about that for a while.
That's what I heard.
Which I'm okay with that. We'll see how it turns out. The first two were good.
So Ryan, believe it or not, I have a bunch more to go through. We only have 10 minutes left. So
Yeah, we haven't even touched board games yet. I've got a whole list, but that's
all right. So do you have a list? Any other movies you want to touch on? We won't spend much time on them.
Nope. I watched Weathering with You just because it was anime in the theater and I could, and that's it.
That looked interesting.
It was a teen/preteen anime, half romance, half weird spiritual sci-fi movie that was cute and meh.
I watched like 5 movies. And I want to bring attention to one real quick for the longest, but I watched The Irishman, which is decent. I don't know why everybody thinks it's like the best thing ever, but it was fine. It was good. The Courier, because I'm a sucker for I'm gonna forget his name now. Zorg from Fifth Element and Jim Gordon from Batman and what's his name?
Gary
Oldman. Yes, Gary Oldman. And I saw he did a movie called The Courier. It's bad. It's so bad. Don't watch it. I watched Gemini Man, which to kick off your Will Smith thing, was fine. I didn't care.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. It was an okay movie.
And then I watched a Netflix movie that Fizzle wanted me to watch called Mutafuckers, or it kind of looks like motherfuckers, but it's not spelled that way. It's an animated, violent, like crazy, weird thing. So if you're into really weird stuff, like that's actually pretty good if you're into that. And then the one thing I have to tell people about before we move on, do you remember the movie Push?
Yes.
with
the guy who played Anakin. Or no, or was that what's his face, Captain America?
yes, it's Captain America.
There's another movie that came out, Jumper.
Oh yeah, no,
Jumper is
that's
the one I was
garbage.
thinking of. That was the one with the
Put
Anakin guy. Yeah.
Push is actually super fun. So it's kind of low budget. It's not great, but like it's fun. Like I actually really like that movie a lot. I highly recommend you go back and watch Push if you like powered people.
Powered people.
So I don't know if this is from the same people or not, but it felt, and I didn't do any research. Feels like it's called Code 8. And there's all these like powered people running around, and like they usually have some atonement like fire or electricity, or they're super strong.
Mm-hmm.
We don't spend a lot of time on it, but it's on. But if you get a chance to watch it, it's called Code 8.
You know what must be done.
So you can find it, especially if you're into mutants or powered beings and you like movies like Push, where it's kind of like they're just kind of in the background of society, maybe even kind of look weird on, almost oppressed, like in a way. Like it's really good. It's actually really good. Like I don't even know where I saw the preview for this. I was like, wow, what was that? And I went and watched it, and I was like, holy crap! Like this is actually really fun. Like it was a really good movie. Highly recommend it. Like it's not gonna be the best acting you ever seen or anything, but it's a solid story, and it's got powered beans in it, and it's super. Like I liked it. Okay, so mostly that's movies. I have this other thing, but we'll save that for later. I have a couple comic books, but we don't have to spend any time on those. So talk about games. Go.
All right. In the 5 minutes that we have, I really just want to say one thing because I don't have time to get into everything else.
Take 10.
Gloomhaven is still the best game freaking out there. So I've been really getting the itch to just play more of Gloomhaven. And over the last, like with the holidays and everything else, the family crew out in Kalkaska land and I have started a new one, a new game, their copy of it, if you will, out there. And we've only played like 2 nights, but it was 2 nights that were really epic and really fun. And now every time my cousin from the UP comes down, I always get a text message saying, "Hey, I think we're going to try to play tonight." And then the last time that happened, it didn't, and it made me very sad.
Well, we have a copy, not we, but like Royal We, like we
have a copy.
Yes, you have a copy. We have a game going on your copy.
We do. We have 2 games going on with my copy now because I do have a couple other guys who have
cheating on me.
Come over on a couple Sunday afternoons now, and we've played a little bit as well. And it is so much setup. It's a pain in the ass, but it's so good and it's so worth it. And it's just amazing to me how much game you can fit into a tabletop experience,
right,
and how complicated it can really be and in depth it can really be. And yet, for all of the effort and time and everything it takes to set up and do it, it'd still be worth it. That speaks a lot to me. Just
I'm down to play
of that game.
Whenever we want. Mindy's still on here. I think she was playing with us.
She was. I think it was Mindy and you and I and
Steven?
your wife. Maybe Steven.
I'm down.
We can trade characters in.
I still really want to set up a board, and we have not had a board game night since I said we were gonna figure out a way to stream it. But I would love to like get together and set up a stream.
Have the Clank one now, right?
Yeah. So what my idea was when we do our first board game stream is we might start with Clank Legacy because that was the thing you wanted to do. I got the game. I'm sure you have a copy of it by now.
You got it. That makes me happy.
But I thought that'd be cool. But I would be totally down for Gloomhaven, and you just have to come over 2 hours early and set it up before the stream starts, because we're not going to stream for 2 hours watching you set up the game.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I'm running into right now is the fact that like I have so many games now that I keep buying that are like long drawn out campaign type games. And I'm just like, oh, I want to play them all, and there's not enough time in the world, and they all take such ridiculous setup time and everything. But Gloomhaven's at the top. It's just so good. It's so good. Um, Also, I don't think you have played yet the Arkham Horror card game,
I don't think so.
and that is another one that we just need to do. Um, it really plays best with 2 people, but you can go up to 4 people with it, and it's built to do that. And it is fantastic storytelling,
Storyline.
fantastic storytelling through very creative different scenarios that are all card based. And basically, at the beginning of each scenario of each like game storyline that you play through, you take it, you get a character, and that character has certain rules to how you design your deck, which is what you use to go on your adventures essentially. Um, and then as you play through the campaign, you get experience points, and there'll be different things that happen, and you have certain scenarios or side quests that you can go on that can affect things. Like there's one of the side quests is you go down to like the New Orleans Bayou to investigate some strange, what seems like a animal killing, and then ends up being like a werewolf. And one of you can actually end up getting bitten and having a werewolf curse throughout the rest of the campaign, where you could just pull the wrong card and suddenly you turn into a werewolf, and
Ooh,
you suddenly have super strong attack and super strong like speed, but you can't do anything else pretty much. Which sometimes works out really, really well, and other times ruins everything. Um,
sounds
but
amazing.
yeah, it's like that. And as the story goes on, sometimes like you'll have to make a decision, like whether you're going to try to do this or try to do that. And sometimes you try to do one thing and it just doesn't work. And there's always there's no ultimate loss where like you give up and stop. You always go on to the next scenario, and it's just a matter of how bad or how good it is going into the next scenario. So like if everything goes perfectly, you may go into the next scenario with like 2 or 3 different new allies that go into your decks as like free upgrades, more or less, that kind of help you work through things as you continue through the storyline. And if everything is absolutely horrible, you may end up going into the next scenario with like an extra curse or 2 in your deck. So like if you just happen to draw it, then you have to
That's
deal with
bad
extra
news.
horrible things instead of good things. And there are different storyline elements that, depending on what happened in like the first scenario of the campaign, may affect what you do or your starting condition in like the 5th scenario of the campaign. And it's just there's a lot of like interacting story stuff, which I really, really love. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things like that out there. Way too many, way too many. Because then if you go down the line of Gloomhaven, you've even got the entire like Star Wars Imperial Assault game, which is basically a simplified version of Gloomhaven, but it's with
I
Star
have
Wars
not played
characters.
any of that either.
And then the best part about that is it plays much more like a actual board game, in the sense that you have up to 4 people who are all like the rebel people, and they're the players of the game. But then you also have one person who plays the Empire side and controls all of the Imperial stuff. And the way that game is set up is there's an entire campaign that you play through as well. But with each mission, whichever side wins, it diverts the like the time, like, and it just keeps. There's so many different ways you can end, so many
Tree
different
of
missions
like,
you can end
yeah,
up doing. And so it's really set up in such a way that like the guy who's playing the Imperial, sometimes they can kind of play it almost like a dungeon master, but it's really designed to be well balanced, where they don't have to be a dungeon master in the sense of D&D, where they have to be thinking about making sure that other
fairness and
players have,
story,
yeah.
and
But it's set up to be balanced, where they can just, if they're just a better player, then they can just whoop your butt, and it's
you
your
just
fault.
win.
It's not their fault. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and that's another really fun one. And I've played through the base scenario of that once with Kalkaska folks, and it was really fun and really worth it. And like it's another game where like your characters level up, not as intense as Gloomhaven, but as you play through the like through the scenarios and the campaign, your characters get more and more powerful, which is always fun. Um, and then I still have Tainted Grail from Kickstarter that I got like 4 months ago,
I don't
and
know what that is either.
it, oh my gosh, it's so epic. It's basically a different take on the King Arthurian legends, where
Sure.
like Avalon is like this weird fantasy dimension that the humans invaded, like the original King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, because something was going on wrong on the regular Earth. So like they went into this different plane of existence and
Sure.
basically carved out a niche for themselves. Um, good magical that made it livable, slowly dying, burning out. Now all heroes of a current age have gone off, find table people and get help village area, and that was years ago. Nobody's come back and nobody's heard anything, and is like the line's second role, and that's you. And
You're
basically,
breaking up now. Okay.
the whole of the is guys are not the heroes. You guys are like the second nobodies who nobody cares about and got left behind when the heroes left.
Gotcha.
And so you had what's going on and fight like this weird in this weird tainted world and trying to like figure out why everything's falling apart, more or less. Um,
Those all sound great. Bring them over.
Work on that. And then there's so many more. So many. Anyways, that's all I really had. I have a lot of ranting I can do about board games, but it is like 5 after 11 now. So
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we can obviously spend some more time on that. We just had a lot on my list to get through because we had 4 weeks to go, and the whole time I'm just writing things down. There's a lot of things on here I also skipped over just for time's sake. I will say, board game wise, what was really fun is I have not played Munchkin in a while, and actually Mindy came over and we played Adventure Time Munchkin all the way through, like had a great time. It's nice going back to the game after so long because I was burned out on it. We all were, I think. We played it so much. And man, that's still a fun game. It's so good. It was, especially since I'm a big Adventure Time fan. Like I got my Finn sword and bag down here, and like it was really fun to like play that with the Adventure Time motif because they do such a good job with the motifs and like bringing in the characters and making it feel like you're in that little world. Like if you ever play like the Super Hero one or the Space one, or we've had like every version of it I think I've played. But
I do think that that's a game where when you do come back to it after a long time, it's almost always best to come back to some new version of it, just because it has new cards and things. Because the gameplay is still always going to be that same basic, simple gameplay, which is fine if you haven't done it in a while. But having like the new cards and everything to go along with coming back to that basic gameplay really helps.
Yeah, and that for sure. And that game, just at its core, is just super fun. It's just fun to sit around. We used to sit around like almost every weekend. It felt like we were getting around to there for a while and playing that. But so Munchkin, you should pick that up if you have not played it. It's good, and it's really not super difficult. Like there's a little bit of a learning curve once you get ramped up, but then it's just easy. Just read the cards and play them. Let's see. It is probably time to start wrapping up. Unless you have anything pressing.
This is not necessarily a Twitch stream thing, but we should do a tabletop board game night of some sort very soon. And when we do that, I will bring over a 6-pack of my homebrew from Thanksgiving that I just popped this last week, and it's pretty decent.
I want that. We should do a board game night whenever you're ready. We're always here, so just let us know. I have a test channel, so what I was thinking of is instead of diving in and just streaming to this channel the first time, is maybe we'll just set up some stuff just randomly and see how it looks and works, and do it to the test channel so I can go back and kind of watch it and see what it looks like and just have it somewhere. Because we'll have to do it off a laptop, and this is all off my desktop right now. So cool. Well, Ryan, I really enjoyed this. It's probably time to start going. I want to end with another comic book recommendation, just because we don't talk a lot about comic books, but we both really, really like them. We did tonight, actually. We talked about some stuff. So I've been trying to find some of the weirder stuff I have, and this is a recommendation, not necessarily because it's great, but because it's novel. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Aggregate. It is kind of
I
an
feel
indie
like
thing
you had told me about it.
that I kickstarted this book, so it's not from a major publisher. Split Decision Comics is the guys that made it, and this is like their only book, and they're making more of these. But what's interesting about this book is it is a, I don't know if you can see at the bottom, a choose your own adventure book. So it'll be like, if you want to do this decision, turn to this page, do this decision, turn to that page. Which, if you remember old choose your own adventure books, were kind of fun. I will say this, if you like great art, because this is really quite good, with a very interesting universe that it is in, and you like that novel idea of having a little choose your own adventure book, this is probably fun if you can pick it up. And in the description below, I'll link to this, where you, because they have a website set up where you can buy this stuff now that it's past Kickstarter. It's super fun. I think it's really well done. I will say the only gripe I have is the choose your own adventure kind of falls flat because it's a comic book. You don't have a lot of room. I mean, even though it's this thick, you don't really have a lot of room for choose your own adventure like you would with text, because those old text-based books could be like one page of text and be like, oh, you died this turn. Go back and try over or whatever. So, but it's really novel idea. If you kickstart it, it came with a bunch of really cool like extra art and bookmarks and signed stuff. So I just wanted to highlight this as something I thought was really super cool. It's called Aggregate, and like I said, I'll link to all that kind of stuff at the end. I read some other books, which we'll talk about next time because I think they're worth talking about. But the new Thor and last year's Saska Sisters run of Black Widow, called No Restraints Play. I'm way late on that. That was earlier last year, but it was super good, and we'll talk about that.
I have two thoughts. Thought number one was, have you seen that they have choose your own adventure themed to the 90s and 80s little scholastic books that we used to have in school and stuff, the actual choose your own adventure books, themed board games now?
No.
Which are basically, they've had this like stream of like, what do you call like the rooms that you try to get on, you get locked into and you try to solve the puzzles.
Oh, sure. Escape rooms.
And so they've had a whole slew of like board games trying to emulate that, like figure out the adventure in a time sort of thing. And they've kind of taken that and turned it into the choose your own adventure book. And the guy who did the original author for all of the choose your own adventure books and stuff is all part of it and telling his own stories and everything. So I haven't actually gotten one or played one yet, but they're like $15-20 to pick one up. And I'm kind of tempted to do that. That being said, my comic suggestion for the week is the opposite of all the indie stuff that you have. And it's not new, but it's quite old. It's like probably
we don't care if it's old.
10 years cool old stuff now. And it is the Josh Whedon X-Men run.
Oh, is that Astonishing
X-Men?
Yeah. Astonishing. That's all. It's before you said that, I was saying to say, was that the Astonishing run?
Yes, it is the Astonishing X-Men run. I have it in two hard back versions. But basically, he wrote the X-Men for 2 years, Astonishing X-Men in the 2000s, mid 2000s.
Do people need to remind you who Joss Whedon is?
They might. So you may remember him from directing the first and second Avengers movies. He also created Firefly,
which is my love for him.
Yes, and Firefly was fantastic. He also made Dollhouse, and if you want to go way, way back, he created the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, and I think he wrote the original movie too. I don't remember for sure on that. I think he created it, but in any case, he has a certain wit to him, and he definitely understands comic books, which is why the Avengers was such a good movie for him to make. And if you can imagine the fun team elements of the Avengers and how he just kind of gets the characters and just kind of had the voices for them, do that same thing, except for X-Men. And that's what this is. And it's beautiful. It's lovely. It takes the X-Men from the era where like you kind of saw them in those early 2000 movies, whereas all leather clad and less about being superheroes and more about just being
kind of a realistic version, which is weird.
Yeah, kind of weird, but and that's what the comic books had been for like a good 5 to 10 years. And this was Josh Whedon coming back and just being like, listen, this is my take on the X-Men being superheroes in costumes and why it's important to remember them that way and treat them that way. And it is emotional, it connects well, and it's just a really, really good run. And therefore, that is my comic book recommendation for y'all.
That is a fantastic one. I've not read all of it, but I did start it a long time ago, and I remember it being very good. I am also the guy, my wife often likes to remind me, that owns thousands of comic books in a closet and have not read like any of them.
That's fair. In fact, I think your copy of this run in individual issues may be the copy that you bought for me or I gave to you or something. I don't remember. I think I was dumping all my single issues at one point. I think you snagged those ones from me.
Because I got, it was fun the other day. So our local comic book shop, sorry, we're running a little long. I don't give a shit. Sorry.
Yeah, it's whatever. Not like
runs a Facebook like live auction every couple weeks or so, and my last haul.
Well done.
So they do a bunch of stuff they just want to get rid of that's like $1 or less. Some of it was like some neat, like I got some good Punisher books. I was actually really excited to see some of these, but most of these were like $1, or like a lot of these I have are weird because they just put them in a pile. Like anything that didn't sell from the auction, they just put in a pile. And trying to remember if there's anything super fun in here, but yeah, I just have this huge.
Do you still have like 8 copies of Savage Dragon #1?
They might. I only have the one. Like old Civil War issue 1, which this was overprinted to hell.
Well, first of all, did that say Secret Wars at the bottom?
No. This is Civil War. What did I say?
Right, but what did it say at the very bottom? There's like
it does say Secret Wars, yeah.
That's
Very
not even the real Civil War.
Oh,
That's
so
like the Secret War spinoff.
That was in the pile. I did not bid on that.
Good.
I believe this is actually a copy. I already have this somewhere. That's a Ghost Rider Volume 2 issue 1. So it's like the not original series.
That is a very 90s.
Series. Very 90s.
Like
a lot of these are very 90s. 90s Cage. These are fun. So there's actually a whole network of these, I guess is why I'm bringing it up. And I guess there's a site on here that aggregates those. That's dangerous. I'm never going to go on that site. But apparently this is a thing local comic book shops have been doing. So if you're interested in comics at all and you have a local comic book shop, if you're in my area, because I know a lot of people watch this right now are probably friends that I'm forcing to watch this, and you're interested in this, follow Top Comics. Shout out to them. And watch their Facebook feed, because they have all sorts of there you go, some die cut.
There it is.
Punisher Warzone #1. Ultimate Spider-Man #1. I thought that was actually a pretty good find. It's not in the best condition.
There's like a lot of printings of that, but most of those are actually still maintain a decent amount of value.
I found a bunch of these crossover Punisher books I thought were super good for cheap. Punisher Batman.
Are those part of the Marvel Knights line, or?
That actually looks awesome.
I've seen that. That's the Romita Jr. one, right?
That's thick.
Yeah.
You want some 90s goodness? Max #1. Old Man Logan #1 was actually in that one of those, which was kind of fun.
Is that a real Old Man Logan #1, or is that another Secret Wars thing?
This is another Secret War thing.
Okay.
Stop ruining my life. No, I don't really care. That one wasn't one I bid on either. It was in a pile. Fantastic Force, whatever the heck that is. Some old school glittery Bishop goodness.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you have a local comic book store, they might do this now too. Well, I just shook everything. And you may want to look at that. What is that? Mayonnaise?
I'm going to throw this out.
I love ranch.
Bella
Nolia. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for ranch. I eat ranch and everything. It is the condiment. Is it a condiment or is it salad dressing?
Is it not the same?
It's both.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to throw out there, if you all want to subscribe, do that. But also, if you have old DBZ collectible card game cards just lying around, mail them to us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have our addresses, but you should just mail them to us anyway.
Well, you can DM me if you're serious about it.
Yeah.
We are always looking for those. We mentioned those on a previous episode. I won't dig them back out because we're running late, but I would love to try to play that game again. I wouldn't want to do it without looking through the decks. I wouldn't want to just blindly grab it. Well, maybe we should just do that. Maybe if we get this board game thing running, we'll try it a couple times. And once it's running,
we'll do some test runs and play some DBZ.
And maybe one night you'll come over and we'll just blindly pull out one of the old decks we have, and it'll probably be hot garbage. And because I still have like 5 pre-made decks, you can have one of mine. I don't. I 4 behind me.
Sure, one of mine is my Kid Buu red deck, which will just smear whatever. So I'll just stick with that one.
I have my BJ. If you're out there, I still have most of your black cell deck in existence with some minor tweaks. So that still exists. So that's a lot of fun. So, all right. Anything else, Ryan? We should wrap this up.
I don't think so. I think that's all for me.
All right.
I mean, I do have many other things, but not enough to get into right
Save them for the sequel. So this is episode 4. Fam for Gamer, thank you for hosting. Right as we're leaving. I appreciate you. So this will go up on YouTube later. Probably Tuesday. Tomorrow. Oh no, probably won't be tomorrow. It'll be Wednesday. It's usually like a day and a half by the time I get everything.
Usually you post it, but it's private, and then you make it public like sometime on Wednesday.
So I have to rewatch it all, and I probably have to clip the front and the back because I usually play some intro and outro music that YouTube copyright claims, which fair enough it is, because I'm too lazy to find some good non-copyright music.
One day I'll record something.
Yeah, or I'll get on Fiverr one day too, and maybe get something made for us.
And then after you do that, I'll record something.
Yeah, and I'll rather use yours anyway. But so watch out for that. If you missed some of it, especially with the connection issues we had earlier, I recorded it, so the recording will get put up, and you won't have any of that. Best Shots is lurking. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you coming by. You won't be lurking for long because we're going to get off here, but so watch out for the YouTube stuff. Link is below on Twitch. Click on it. It takes you straight to the channel. Subscribe, hit the notification button. You'll be notified when the new episodes come up. Everything's going great, buddy. Hope your day is also going well. The stream was technically difficult at points, but we've been having fun. We've been having a good time.
The chatting has been done well. Yeah, the streaming ability to stream has been less good.
Which this is all ego stroke for us. We just want to hear ourselves talk. So whether you heard it or not, I don't know if it really matters. But go to YouTube right now. Just go do it. Click the damn button and subscribe over there and hit the bell notification and like and comment on all our videos. I don't even care if you watch them.
I don't know where they're
below us in the about section. If you are enjoying this and you also want to support us, I mentioned it earlier, but you can do a Twitch Prime, which an Amazon Prime member costs you nothing. You just have to click through a couple things. I'll post the link in the chat. You can do that. It's probably right now the best way to support our functions here. And I also have a bunch of stuff below for social media that we link a bunch of the stuff. We have a new Discord channel if you want to get in there and talk about any of the stuff you saw here. I'll post links to our YouTube channels there so you can actually start a thread too for the podcast episodes for people who watch it later. I'll have all these links on the YouTube description as well, as long as with timestamps, hopefully, and links to any of the things that we talked about, like board games and comic books and movies and books and things. That'll all be in the description on YouTube. And I think that's about it. Oh, one more thing. There's one more thing I wanted to mention, which I probably should have mentioned at the top of the episode when probably more people were watching. But a week from tonight, I will be on the Smitty Dicks podcast again. This will be my second appearance there. So if you watch my socials or go to the description of the YouTube channel, I will post a link to their channel and my previous episode probably, which there was some technical difficulty, so it's really grainy, but the audio is fine. And I will be on there this coming Monday. So the 8th or verified, the 3rd. Very cool. Very cool. So
I personally approve and think that that's a wonderful idea.
I also do. Levi's great. All right, everybody. Where's the button? Oh, I found it.
Be fine. Okay.